What's up, Wizards? Welcome to MTGAlchemy. Today in this video, we're going inside the art of Ponder with Dan Scott. Coming up.
Hey now, honey, I've been driving around in my car, looking for some kind of open bar. It's gonna be alright, gonna be alright.
What up? So we are here at GP Kansas City, and we just picked up the prize box for one lucky winner of our YouTube channel. Check it out. One lucky winner.
Sitting here, chilling, waiting on Koi to get the keys so that we can go get some food.
Well, we got a flat tire, so I'll show you that picture right here. And now we're at the Cheesecake Factory. So yeah, thanks to our buddy Cameron and his nifty truck, we're definitely still able to eat dinner tonight, so that's nice.
All right, guys, day 2, Kansas City GP. We got some of the crew and a Boa snowman who's joining us up here today, doing a Battle Bond two-headed giant draft. Let's see what they pick and pull.
What's up, Wizards? We are here at Kansas City Magic Fest on Saturday. We're actually walking to go meet up with Dan Scott, the artist behind Ponder, and several other cards that are really cool. And we're gonna do an interview for MTGAlchemy, so check this out.
All right, Wizards, so before we get started, as promised, we are still giving away a box of War of the Spark. There has been a couple of changes to YouTube, so we're having to use a third party for giveaways. So check the link in the description below and follow the instructions. There's multiple ways to enter, and we're giving people an additional 2 weeks to get their entries in for a box of War of the Spark.
We are also giving away a shadow signed Ponder by artist Dan Scott. You can see him signing it right here, so follow the link in the description below for multiple ways to enter. And we will see who wins on MTGAlchemy.
All right, guys, so again, we're going inside the art today with Dan Scott on Ponder, and maybe even Simulacrum, we'll see. But if this is your first time here, make sure you guys click the like button, subscribe button, ring the bell so you never miss an episode of MTGAlchemy, and we'll dive right into it. So, how did you get started? How did you get started doing art? Like, how'd you get into this?
Well, I mean, I've been doing art as far back as I can remember, drawing with crayons and stuff like that. So went to college, became an art major because that's what I always wanted to do. I always thought I'd be a comic book artist or maybe a Dungeons and Dragons artist or something like that.
Right
but
on.
When I was in college, that's when a friend showed me the game of Magic. I'd never played it before, and I instantly fell in love. I loved the art. I decided right then that's what I wanted to do for my career. Of course, it took me quite a while after I graduated from college before I actually started doing art for Magic.
Right.
But once I got in there, I was excited, and I've been doing art for them ever since. So,
Very cool, very cool. So you've done Ponder, you've done Solemn Simulacrum. What else have you done? I know those are the two iconic ones.
Yeah, those are probably the two biggest, most popular ones. But I've done, all kinds. Like Ninja of the Deep Hours, one of the first popular ones that I did.
Right.
From that block back then. I've done, one of my favorites is Fathom Mage. I did an alternate promo art for that.
Right on.
I've done a lot of alternate promo arts actually. Scavenging Ooze was another one.
Oh, very cool. Got that in Manifest.
Yeah. Serum Visions.
Serum Visions.
Chroma's Memorial. I've done, it's like well over 200 cards. So,
goodness.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Does the Wizards come to you and say, hey, we want you to be a Wizards artist? Or is it like an application you got to fill out?
Well, for me, I submitted several times trying to get in back, 15 years ago when I first started doing art for them.
Right.
And it took several tries to actually, impress them enough to where they wanted to use me.
Very
So
cool.
at this point, because I've got a established, connection with them, they just, hit me up and say, in a month or so, we're going to be commissioning for the next set. How many pieces are you able to take? And then, I'll let them know, and then I'll get the email with the art descriptions.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So let's dive into Ponder. So one question that I've always had as a Magic player, especially when I started playing Magic. And funny enough, it was Ponder. When I saw Ponder for the first time, my first question about the art when I looked at it was, before Ponder was Ponder, and Wizards comes to you and says, this is what the card does. There's no art to it yet. Here's the name. What's your process? How do you look at a card name, what the card does, and then kind of walk us through that?
So Ponder was actually a little bit different, but for a typical Magic card, we get a name which is sometimes the working name, not always the final name that's going to be on the card.
Right.
And prior to getting the art descriptions, we'll get a style guide, which is, maybe 150 pages or something like that of just all concept art and flavor that's been written by the writers. And it lays out what the setting is, what the mountains and the islands look like in this set, all the different, lands and the different factions, the creatures, all that stuff. So it's all very well laid out and detailed. And the style guide is meant to be used as inspiration. Like, they don't want us to copy directly what's in there, but we look at that, we try to come up with something that's our take on that world, something that would fit in with that faction or that world. So they don't ever tell us what the power and toughness is going to be, what the casting cost is going to be, what the mechanics of the card is going to be.
Right.
It's just basically the art director's job. One of the jobs is to look at what the card does and then try to find, what would illustrate that, what would make an interesting painting that an artist could, create for that. So then they just distill that card down to a couple sentences and send that description off to the artist. A lot of times they'll refer to the style guide, say, look at style guide page 79, figure B, draw that character casting a spell, and maybe the background can be off page 23, something like that.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this is exactly why I wanted to do this, because I wanted to get those insider, like, how does this work?
Yeah. So getting back to Ponder specifically, Ponder was a reprint, so it had already been printed at least once, and I think it might have been reprinted as the full art by Steve Argyle at that point. I think Mark Tadine did the original.
Okay.
And then Steve Argyle did a reprint that was a full-length Ponder.
Right.
I think mine might have been third. I'm not sure about that, but so Jeremy Jarvis was the art director for that one, and because it was a card that had already been printed before, and I am a current Magic player now that Arena's around.
Right.
I didn't have a play group for a while, so I wasn't playing. But now that Arena's back, I'm playing that every day, doing my dailies.
Very cool.
But anyway, tangent. So Jeremy Jarvis was the art director. He sent me the description. Basically he told me it was a reprint, but he said just kind of some ideas. I think he threw out something about the phases of the moon, maybe taking it a little bit more abstract, and I thought that was a great idea. A lot of my cards are more literal,
Right.
and a lot of Magic cards in general. So I thought it would be kind of cool to take kind of a little bit of an abstract take on it. So I kind of ran with the moon's theme, where it's kind of like 3 phases of the moon or whatever,
Right.
and then the hand kind of like reaching up, trying to decide, which one to choose, which kind of symbolizes the mechanics of the card a little bit.
Right.
And then I just had the outer space, and then I kind of thought, well, there's not a whole lot going on here. I kind of want to add something extra, so I kind of added like a real subtle. You can see the face of the wizard kind of in the background.
Right.
I don't know if you've
Right.
ever noticed that, but a lot of people, they don't even see it until like they see the foil version, and you can actually kind of make out that, oh, there's a face back there. So it's kind of something that they've looked at the card 100, 1,000 times and they've never noticed it, and then they get kind of a kick out of it, that
Right.
there's something in there that they hadn't noticed. So
That's really cool. Actually, I don't think I've noticed that. So but now looking at the card, and all of our viewers can see it now.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So, with Ponder and everything, and then you get into like Solemn Simulacrum, Wizards just comes to you and gives you a kind of a bland idea of mechanics and stuff like that. They don't even tell you if it's the actual name. That's really
right.
that's really
A lot
incredible.
of times they will change the name, sometimes based upon the art, and sometimes based upon maybe the mechanics changing a little bit or whatever.
Right.
Because I think they also change the mechanics. They might change the power and toughness based on if the illustration makes the creature look bigger than it.
Right.
That makes sense. Or more often it's because in playtesting, they decided that it would work better,
Right.
to change that stuff. So
I think you've got one of the most iconic versions of Ponder. I know a lot of people have some different versions and stuff, but I think the Three Moons is definitely one of the most iconic versions of it. Because when people think about that, they think of those moons, which is really cool. And a lot of people out there like to do, especially on YouTube and in some other different areas, they like to do alternate art stuff. They like to submit their stuff into Facebook groups and other things.
Right.
So what would be your advice to an artist that wants to do something for Wizards or wants to get out there and try to get noticed? What would be your advice to those guys to say, hey, this is kind of how you do it, stick to it? What would you tell them?
yeah, it's kind of hard to say because back when I first started 15 years ago, it was a totally different world. Like there wasn't anywhere near the social media that there is now. There's
Right.
so many avenues to get your work out there and seen that it's a lot easier to make a connection. But at the same time, there's so much out there that it's hard to stand out. I think.
Right.
Like when I got my first time got work from Wizards, it was I sent an email directly to the art director. They didn't publish what the art director's email was anywhere, but I kind of figured it out. Like I knew what his name was, and I knew what the naming convention was for Wizards.
Right.
So I just plugged it in and sent him my 3 best pieces, and he responded immediately, and I got work for them based off of that. It's a little bit different now, I think, to actually like.
It's probably like an application process now.
Well, I mean, that's the way it was back then. They had an art drop, and that was the way you're supposed to do
I
it.
see,
So
I see.
I did it the right way. I did it through the art drop, and I never heard anything back. But then when I did it the sneaky way, I actually, made contact with them that way. There's so much more competition these days. Like the
Right.
amount of art that they have now in the game is phenomenal. But even the people who can't get Magic work or who are wanting to but haven't gotten any yet, they're phenomenal too. It's just like it's a lot harder. I feel lucky that I got in when I did because I think it's a lot harder to get in, and I feel sorry for anybody who's super talented who's trying to get in. Another good thing though is there's so many other games out now. There's the Elder Scrolls Legends. There's the
Yep.
Eternal card game. There's a lot of different options of games that will. It's basically the same thing as doing art for Magic. It's just, slightly different. There's Keyforge.
Keyforge is becoming a big deal.
Yeah. There's the Fantasy Flight also does the Star Wars Destiny game. They have cards for that. So I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities. There's so many board games being printed these days. So there's lots of opportunities to get work.
That's very cool.
But I would just say, continuously submit to the art directors directly. Try to get their attention because they're the ones that are going to give you the work.
Right. So I think one more question that everybody's kind of curious about. So is there a floor of just artists from Wizards, or do they send you guys stuff at your house?
It's all freelance.
It's all freelance?
Yeah, we all work from home.
That's so cool. So so Wizards just send you something, you get to paint whatever you want to paint at your house.
Yep.
And in your own space. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's a crazy way to make money, a great way to make money.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
That's pretty cool.
No complaints.
I really appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for giving us some insight behind Ponder.
Yeah, no problem.
We really appreciate it.
All right, Wizards, don't forget about the War of the Spark booster box giveaway. And also, make sure you check out our brand new merch store. We've got t-shirts. We've got MTGAlchemy iPhone cases, which is pretty cool. A He Win t-shirt, which is limited edition right now, actually. But remember, buying stuff like this from our store and getting MTGAlchemy t-shirts, as cool as they are, you can show them off to your friends. It also really helps support the show and really helps us do things like Wizard Wars. Wizard Wars takes a lot. And just helps us do cool things and help keeping providing you with more content.
Anyways, we'll see you guys next time on MTG Alchemy.